Hello, I'm Michael Marshall. Welcome to UPI Perspectives. Our guest today is Richard Cohen, a psychotherapist whose amazing personal odyssey has taken him from a homosexual lifestyle to being a married heterosexual and the father of 3 children. How all this happened is described in his book, Coming Out Straight. He's also the author of Gay Children, Straight Parents. Welcome, Richard. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Let's cut straight to the chase about the nature, character of homosexuality. Are people born homosexual, or is it a result of their environment and upbringing? In other words, is it nature or nurture?
Right. There is no credible scientific evidence to suggest either a genetic or a biologic basis for homosexual desires in men or women. So people are not born this way. It's always a confounding of many different things that leads anybody to experience these desires. Would you want to have homosexual feelings, Mike?
I don't think so, Richard.
Right. Would you want your kids to?
No.
Right. So nobody asks to have these desires. So people don't choose this. The choice is, do they want to live that life, or do they want to change?
You just asked me a question and said, well, would you want to have homosexual desires?
Right.
And then said, well, no one would want to be or choose to be like
Right.
that. In a sense, the business of choice, that's the opposite pole of the business of, well, people are simply born that way.
Right.
Because I mean, some of the, what should I say, people who are strongly or vociferously opposed against homosexuality say, well, this is the choice that people make, and they should just make a different choice.
Right. Actually, I just was speaking to a dad this morning. He has, can you imagine, 2 daughters, both were lesbian-oriented. I started working with he and his wife a year ago. He's a very strong Christian man, and he and his wife for 6 years had just pummeled his daughters with moral, ineptitude. How dare you make such a horrible choice? This is evil, this is bad, you're in rebellion. When he came to my healing seminar and he read Gay Children, Straight Parents, both he and his wife, they realized they had gotten it wrong for 6 years, that their daughters did not choose to have these desires. They're always the result of wounding, early childhood wounding. And so they were re-abusing their daughters by morally judging them. Once they got this key, that their daughters never chose to have these desires, they were the result of hurts in their hearts. They both apologized on bended knee to their daughters in tears. And that began the reconciliation between them. The good news is today, both daughters, both of them have come out of homosexuality and are on their way to their heterosexual potential. So to judge people, we need to heal heterosexual attitudes towards anybody who has homosexual feelings, calling them names, belittling them, being self-righteous and judgmental, all misses the mark. So as parents, there is a lot we can do to ensure the healthy gender identity of our sons and daughters, and definitely prevent it. So with my palette of colors, I can tell you why any man or woman has homosexual feelings. Give me 3 hours with him or her, and I can tell you specifically what occurred in their life to create these desires. It's that predictable.
You got into this field through your own personal life history, your personal odyssey. As I mentioned in the introduction, you're married, you have 3 children. I was just looking at a beautiful picture of your son's graduation with all the family there together. But before that, you were living a homosexual lifestyle. You were living with a male lover. What made you want to change? What started you on that journey?
I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and I started experiencing homosexual feelings from, I suppose, the end of elementary school into junior high school. It was always conflictual for me. I grew up in a Jewish family. By the time I reached high school, they started to blossom, those desires. I tried to fake it, but my real inclinations was towards other guys. When I went to college up in Boston, I started dating guys my first year of school, and then from the second year I had a lover. But there was always something within me. I wanted a wife and kids. It wasn't social pressure. It wasn't rejection from my parents, because I used to bring my boyfriends home, much to my Marine father's chagrin. And much to their credit, they didn't reject me. It was not what they had hoped for me, but they loved me nonetheless. So there was a passion in me. I wanted a wife and kids. It wasn't anything external. It was something deep in my gut and in my heart. So I started therapy very unsuccessfully, and it didn't work. But it was I became a great therapist later on by all the inept therapy I experienced along the way that didn't help me.
So you look back on it as an educational experience.
Oh, it was a horrific and painful, torturous time, because it was in, well, I don't want to go into the specifics therapeutically, but there are definite therapies that are contraindicated for this particular area. Because these are kids.
Contraindicated means they do more harm than good.
Exactly.
Not only they don't work, they do more damage.
They add fuel to the fire. Yeah. Because some of the causes are the boy did not sufficiently emotionally bond with his dad, or he didn't sufficiently emotionally bond with other boys in the pre-adolescent stages. And the same thing with a girl. Her with her mom, lack of bonding, and with other girls. So that's a wound. If you go into therapy then, and the therapist is very detached, it's going to exacerbate already that prevalency of hurt and distance and rejection, which is the type of therapy I was in at the time. So it didn't do squat for me. And then I had a religious conversion experience. And so for the next 9 years, I didn't have relations with men or women. But what happened is I suppressed and repressed those desires. It's not like they weren't there, it's just I kept shooing them away and trying to pray them away, and people told me, well, find the right woman, she'll straighten you out. Marriage is not the solution for same-sex attractions. So I had to do, I did the absolute wrong thing. I married under the advice of others that, you know, find the right woman and she'll straighten you out. And it was a horrific experience for both my wife and I. I was so in pain, and here I was projecting this pain onto my wife with a need that she could never meet because it was for a man. And who wants to, you know, it was just horrific. I was so angry because I thought I was a good Christian boy doing the right stuff, and it hadn't been. I was given such fallacious advice. So I met a good therapist, and to make a long story short, I had to grab a piece from this and to grab a piece from that, because no one I met had the whole picture, how to help me come out straight. And that's eventually why I became a therapist, was to help men and women like myself who have this dream. I'm not here to tell anybody, if you have homosexual feelings, you have to do what I did. We all have a right of self-determination. And my passion was to marry and have kids, and that's what I've done. So it took me about 3 years, 3.5, 4 years, to come through this and to understand, why did I have these desires? That was I had to find that out. And then to heal from the wounds that created them in the first place. It's like this. We have a wound. And these desires, whether they be opposite sex, porno, you know, or whatever that men are engaged in, or women, homosexual, whatever, the wound is always attached to the behavior which is incongruent with one's belief system. When you heal that wound, you have no longer a need for that inappropriate feeling. And that's what I found working with all the men and women that I've worked with over the last 15 years. When we get to the core wound, and there they grieve, and then get good love in its place, everybody will come into their true innate heterosexuality.
Okay, well, with that, our time is up. Regretfully, because we could explore this subject a great deal more. It's been fascinating. Thank you very much indeed, Richard.
You're welcome.
Our guest today has been Richard Cohen, psychotherapist, family man, former homosexual. His recent books are Coming Out Straight and Gay Children, Straight Parents. Now we'd like to hear from you, our viewers. Please email your comments to us at tv@upi.com. Until next time, I'm Michael Marshall, and thank you for watching.